You know that if Tubi was the only streaming service I could use for the rest of my life, I may not have the best quality stuff, but I would have a very funny life. Hello everyone, my name is Max Aaron James. As you can see, we're reviewing the film The Unhitch King, which is on Tubi, free service. Go ahead, check it out. You might like it. Now, if you don't know about Tubi, Tubi has a collection of films. For the most part, it's free. It's relatively free. You kind of pay in your time. Anyway, The Unhitch King is written and directed by Erin Daniels. Stars Rob Kazi, Constance Garnes, Andre Jefferson Jr., and Tahir Moore, whom is the reason that I heard about the movie and came to watch it. The movie Unhitch King is about a character, someone named Dilbert, who is an aspiring comedian, kind of down on his luck, just trying to get by, but then finds a career, or at least finds a way to bring in income by breaking people up. Pretty much the opposite of Hitch. And in doing this, he ends up bringing upon himself and people he's associated with some problems and issues that affect not only their lives, but his own, specifically his romantic life. This movie is a rom-com, and rom-coms, for me at least, are at the very bottom, not as far as quality, but as far as genres that I would choose to watch. Reason being that they have a formula that is very predictable, and the process of creating a story never strays from that formula, because rom-coms are pretty much for comfort and entertainment. I don't think there is any rom-com that necessarily ends on a sad note, and pretty much, you have an idea of what's going on. Character with a romantic interest, an issue develops that ends up affecting them, and usually comes from the main character, the primary main character, pursuing their goals that are not associated or connected with their romantic interest, and then at the end they make up in some way. Either they end up together, which is what most rom-coms are, or they reconcile in a way that's still happy. Other genres, thrillers, horror, drama, action, do not always end the same way and can have twists and turns that you may not expect, or that are not necessarily unique or have never been done before, but tend to be unexpected and something that you may not have seen coming, or that are a delight because it's a surprise. With that being said, going in watching a rom-com or watching The Unhitched King, I wasn't expecting anything grand, and I could still enjoy a rom-com. 10 Things I Hate About You I actually really enjoy, even though I knew what was going to happen. That's a rom-com that's probably like top tier. The Unhitched King has a good reverse premise to Hitch, although it almost follows the beats to a T outside of bringing people together, and it breaks them apart. The actors, very good. They worked very well with what they had, what was given to them. I like the cinematography. The filming was actually pretty good. For the most part, the movie, the way it was shot, felt very like just a low budget film. And, I was cool with that. And then there were other parts that felt like it was a comedic TV show. I would not consider that an insult to this movie. I had fun with it. And it's a movie that is on Tubi. And so feeling like a TV show is actually pretty good. Most Tubi movies that I've seen have really felt like someone just picked up their phone or a camera and told their friends to pretend to be someone else. So I like the cinematography. I like the actors. Where it kind of fell flat was the directing was decent. I'll say that. But where it fell flat was the writing. A lot of the dialogue felt very amateur and didn't feel real, and a lot of the jokes kind of fell flat. Felt like the jokes were written, when they were written they felt funny, or if they were improvising, it was probably very funny when they were shooting, but when it came to the audience, it just felt it didn't hit as hard. There were a couple jokes that were very funny, or actions that were very funny, and I did appreciate that, and again, it kept me invested in the story overall. Another issue with the writing is the story didn't really start until about 35, 40 minutes in. At least 10 minutes could have been cut in the first 30 minutes because the development in this world building took too long, and it kind of gave me the feeling that I was about to watch something that was very messy and had no direction. And it wasn't until about the 40-minute mark that I got an idea, okay, this is the goal, this is the story that we're getting, and now I can see where it goes. It looked like it didn't catch it. It felt as if it didn't catch its footing until about the 40-minute mark, maybe a little later. The movie is only about an hour and 20 some minutes long, so about halfway point. Either way, it was entertaining. There were some side stories, like I'll say C plot and D plot, maybe the B plot as well, that didn't really mesh or connect well with the main story, the main plot. It felt as if they were just completely separate, maybe to help and pad on the runtime. There were a couple scenes where it felt like we stepped away from the main plot and just put one of the characters into this side story with a side character, and then once they escaped or left that situation or that story or environment, then we got back to our main story. So it felt like those scenes could have been cut and it wouldn't have affected the main story. As far as the runtime, I didn't have an issue with it being an hour and 20 some minutes. Again, could have cut at least 10 minutes in the beginning, could have cut a couple of the side stories, but they could have added to the ending. The ending felt rushed. It felt as if the director wasn't sure how to close it out and kind of just threw in these scenes and had a monologue voiceover for it. The ending had that Tubi personality to it, where it was just, here's a story that we were not sure how to execute. It could have been worked on a little better. And I feel that I shouldn't critique it as intensely as I am, but I saw a lot of potential in this movie, a lot more than other films that I've seen on Tubi, not just on Tubi, but in general. A lot of movies I've seen that have this potential and good actors, good ideas, good cinematography. It's just the story, the dialogue takes me out, and the way the story is presented, it just takes me out and takes me away. And it felt like this small element could have been worked on a little more, and it would have actually been a good movie. I don't really have much else to say. I don't think I really need to give a spoiler review. I'll do some minor spoilers right here. So here's a warning. There might be some spoilers in it. Delbert, played by Rob Kazi, it felt like his personality was slowly based on trying to be a comedian, and that was it. He's the typical down on your luck main character, doesn't have a lot of money, trying to pursue his craft, his art, and pursue his dreams. And then he's a Unhitch King. That was it. Then you have the romantic interest, played by Constance Garnes. I don't really know much about her aside from her working at a cafe, and she's into Delbert, or Rob Kazi's character. In being the Unhitch King, Delbert gets himself in trouble, and this messes up his chances with Constance Garnes' character, and he tries to bring people together and tries to fix things up, and in doing that, Constance Garnes sees that, oh, maybe this person has changed, maybe they're not who I think they are, and they end up together. And that whole part, the third act of piecing things together, making things right, felt like only about 10 minutes worth of film. Overall, the movie was fun. If you are someone who watches movies on Tubi, I'd recommend watching The Unhitched King. I had fun with it. I think you would as well. It had funny moments, shot well, something to just casually watch. I feel I may end up doing more reviews on Tubi movies. I did one on Meet the Snows. This movie I thought was fun and cool. And I think more people should check out independent films, no matter where they are, what kind of genre they are. I think it's good to support aspiring filmmakers, actors, directors, writers, etc. That is it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, y'all take care of each other, check up on one another, check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit.